This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yeah. Should you practice art? Or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master. The one that's more than a rapper. The one that's an educator. The one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts. He's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan.
Regie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. This is Comics Today, despite what that headline up there says. This is a show that we do on Wednesday to celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day. And I have to laugh to myself because every single time I have someone ask me why I have an intro that is so long on the front of this show, I am always reminded why I do that. And I do it for several different reasons, including technical glitches, which is exactly what happened when I sat down to go live here a few moments ago. So if anyone is ever wondering why I do an intro, part of the reason is to figure out the technical glitches that happen whenever you are doing anything involving technology. So anyway, Comics Today, show on Wednesday, celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day. And in a minute, I'm going to go to the chat here to figure out what it is that you guys may have picked up at your LCSs. And if you have a new book or several that you picked up, I want to know what you picked up. If you want to shout out your LCS, feel free to do that. And if you picked up a book today that is not a new book, but is a new to you book, allow us to celebrate with you and to live vicariously through you spending money by letting us know what it is that you actually picked up. Normally with this show, Comics Today, we have a guest or two on to help me to make sense of something that is happening in the world of comics and collectibles. We are not doing that today. We are not going to do that tonight. I am recovering from lots of things. I'm recovering from being sick for several days, and I'm still not quite 100%. I am also recovering from having to, that sounds bad, but traveling to the West Coast to participate in Short Box Live, and then just family stuff. Coming back, not feeling well, being gone for a few days. The honey-do list is quite extensive, and I still have not caught up. So we are going to talk about some stuff that is top of mind for me and may have just fired me up just a little bit. Fingers crossed that we have a good no agenda type of live stream tonight. So I'm going to go to the chat real quick to see who's all up in here. And again, if you picked up something really dope at your LCS today, I want to know what it is. If you read something good that we should put on the top of our reading stacks, let us know that as well. Doug is up in here. It's good to see you, brother. Giving a all caps for Short Box Live. Doug, it is always good to see you. Kareem Grant is in the house. Salute to you too as well. Scrolling through, hello from Tender Dry, Alberta, says Wellbore. What's funny, brother, is I spent 3 wonderful hours just yesterday for work talking about the vaccine market in Canada. I spent 3 hours with some consultants ripping through some stuff all about Canada and your various provinces and how 86% of your population lives in 4 specific provinces. I always thought there were only 4. That is not true. There's several provinces. It's just most people live in 4. Mark is on the board. Mike, speaking of Canada, my Canadian brother Mark is never at a loss for picking up some books. It must be nice to be semi kind of sort of retired, possibly about to take a dope job where I have to give him a professional name. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Mark is on the board. Junkyard Joe 6, Stoneheart, Something Epic, Phantom Road 3, and a bunch of other books. He says only 11 books. only 11 books, brother. That is a lot of books for certain people, brother. So Brouhaha is up in the house. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Scrolling down through the comments here. Steve White, how you doing, brother? He says, picked up A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, issue number 1, specifically a CGC 9.8 from the short box. That's what you, Man, you can't go wrong with the short box. You cannot, and I will give you guys an update on Short Box Live. From what I remember, I will give you guys an update. Went to the LCS. Every copy of ASM 25, the Disney variant, was in terrible, he says, terrible condition. Corners all torn. LCS said it is how Marvel is shipping books now. You gotta love it. I did a written interview for a website that's going to be released at some point soon. Did a written interview for them, and I identified two main issues that are impacting the comic book market right now, primarily Marvel and DC. It is failures of proper distribution and creativity. Those were the two main things that I flagged that are plaguing Marvel and DC, and we literally hear it and see it on screen right now. Trev, the shipping guru, Marvel can probably learn a few things from you, sir. Technically, their distributors could. Picked up new books and another $50 short box. There you go. Can't go wrong with that, Trev. That's what's up. I kept buying ASM even though I shouldn't. Also got Ambassadors, Clear, Extreme, Venom, Verse, Quicksand, and some more stuff. That's what's up. I liked it. Picked up the Spawn Wildcats 4 run. That's what's up. Scrolling through some of the comments, I'm well behind. Scrolling through. There you go. Ooh, Doug is on the board. Doug is on the board. Letting you guys know about the some of the cool stuff that is coming up. So you guys definitely want to get in touch with Doug if you happen to be in that Pittsburgh, PA area. There's some really cool stuff that is on the horizon. Sad Villainy, who I had an opportunity to meet at Short Box Live, picked up FF 110. Ooh, that book sounds familiar. X-Men 18, early Magneto cover, and The Last Ronin, Lost Years, specifically the short box exclusive with a signature, I'm guessing, from Tom Waltz. That's what's up. It was a pleasure to meet you, brother. Absolutely a pleasure. Reggie, Alberta doesn't need vaccines. They have one. Oh my goodness. Juggernaut, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. I'm scrolling down. I picked up the same books as Mark. Steve White says, picked up the same book. Well, it's easy to pick up the same books as Mark when Mark picks up all the books. He covers everyone because he picks up so many. And yes, his LCS loves him. I think his LCS owner is Rick. Is that Rick? The strange things that pop into my mind. Picked up Batman 24 from 1944, specifically a CGC 5.0 at a decent price. That's what's up. Congrats to you, brother. And again, living vicariously through you. My man, Herman, it's good to see you, brother. Picked up Amazing Spider-Man 25, Ambassadors 4, Monarch 4, Phantom Road 3, and some other books. That's what's up. Scrolling through again. This is a celebration of New Comic Book Day, which is why we take the time to look at what it is that people picked up. Part of the reason why I do this is because people say folks don't buy comics to read them. That is not true. Many of these people that are running down these lists are actively reading these comics. People say there are no good books that are coming out. That's not 100% accurate. Just like every other time, there is some good stuff and some bad stuff. And again, you are seeing people run down some of what it is that they picked up. So do not believe the hype. Comics are not dead. People buy comics to read them. People buy comics to hope that they increase in value. That was another debate that I had with somebody just recently. I will show you guys some of the books that showed up here for me today, and I think a little bit yesterday. Scurry, a very large box showed up at my house. I was like, man, what did I order? And how did I not remember that I ordered something this large? Opened up the very large package and a tiny book was on the inside. It is a tiny book with some tiny mice. This is Scurry from Max Smith. This is from our friends over at Skybound, called Skybound Comet. I'm guessing that this is their adolescent division because that is a pretty thick book. This is a web, I think it's a web. Max Smith presents his smash hit web comic in graphic novel format for the very first time. There is a quote here from James Tyan, an incredibly beautiful book, it says. So really cool book. shout out to him for making some magic happen. I don't know how many webtoons this is, but this is a thick one. This is a thick book, no doubt about it. 330 pages. 330 pages. That's a thick one. All right. What did I get? The Max. Picked up the Max from, what was that, 1993. This was my prime year here. Picked it up, Max issue number 1. Really cool book. Picked it up, 9.8. I can tell you for a fact that book reverted. That book reverted. That book could go for another press, but we're just gonna stare at the 9.8 label and call it good. Picked up another 9.8. Who is Shadowhawk issue number 1 from 1992. Both of these are early Image books, taking me right back to my childhood. Those are the 3 books that showed up here at the house. A couple of really cool things, no doubt. And no, I am not 100%. I have a pesky cough that just will not go away. So let me give you guys a quick update. It's a thick one. It's a tiny, thick book, no doubt about it. There you go. You can't go wrong. I'm telling you, man. Shiny foil. You cannot go wrong with some shiny foil, man. And again, working on a little project for the childhood. I might be. Man. I think that's one of those first world problems. You know what I'm saying? When you just, things are so good that you can just revert. You can regress, revert, however you want to call it. What's interesting is that I have a lot of copies of the early Image books in my collection from my childhood and in the 100K collection, but none of them are 9.8 worthy. And trust me when I tell you, I've stared at these books. I've pulled them out. I've sorted them. I've resorted them. I put them away. I pulled them back out. No 9.8 worthy. Instead, I am just going out and buying some of these books that remind me of my childhood, and I'm going to put them in a box over here labeled 90s. 90s dopeness is probably what I'll write on there. Let me give you guys a quick update on Shortbox. Shortbox Live specifically was an event this I think it was Sunday, the day after New Comic Book Day, if memory serves. I flew into San Francisco, took the Ubers all the way down to Santa Clara for the con. It was a convention hotel like combo deal. And the event put on by the folks at Shortbox was top notch. If you've encountered anything that Shortbox has done, from their app to their graphics to their promotion to the people that they work with to the events that they sponsor, it is always top notch. Always top notch. I showed up at the venue at like 6:30 in the morning because I'm on East Coast time and I like to arrive places early. Showed up at 6:30. Con didn't start until 10. I showed up. And I basically hung out with absolutely nothing to do. I'm confident that I was in the way of the people that were trying to get set up, but I was still there. I was there partially sick, partially in the moment. And but again, the event unfolded over the course of the day. It was well attended. They had a bunch of influencers there from, the entire spectrum. I had an opportunity to meet a lot of really awesome influencers that are out there that I've never met before. Some of them I've seen them online. Some I had only met for the first time. The dealers were just incredible. I had an opportunity to hold a 9.8 Daredevil issue number 1. This is volume 1 Daredevil, 9.8. I don't know how many are out there in the world. But the Red Hood gave me an opportunity to check this book out. He then pulled out a 9.8, a Fantastic Four 48 signed by Stan Lee. He then pulled out a 9.8 copy of Turtles 1. So 3 just mind-blowing books, one after the other. And I'm staring at these books. I think it was probably 7:30 by this point, but I'm just looking at these books, taking photos of them for the gram. Just a great selection of books. The dealers that were there were top notch. There were a lot of dealers there that brought really awesome books to show, to sell. And, we ended up doing this show, Comics Today, live in front of an audience. I had never done that before. I really don't know how it went. I'll be completely honest. I do not remember anything that I said. I think that there may have been a video recording or several. I am not confident that I want to watch any of that video back. But I will tell you, I had it was a pleasure to meet and to interview Tom Waltz, who was a group editor for IDW, and he is also the writer, along with Kevin Eastman, behind The Last Ronin, Lost Years, and a bunch of other stuff. Sat down with him, had a wonderful conversation. He revealed a couple of things in front of that audience that I don't think were widely known, but we had a great conversation. He is a retired Marine, so my hat's off to him for his service and for helping to protect America. And then I interviewed Mark Nerdy AF. Mark is another influencer. We sat down and had a wonderful conversation. So shout out to both of those gentlemen for making themselves available and chatting with me just a little bit. So Bootleg Reg, who's got a copy, brother? I'm hoping. I don't know what I said. I'll be completely honest. I don't know what the heck I said. I don't know if I have it in me to watch it back. I don't know if I could actually watch it back because I don't quite know what actually came out of my mouth. It could have been all bad. It could have been all good. I don't know. Moto says, he says, got me. He got me. Moto picked up Transformers 1 from 1984. He says it is an old book, but new to him. Moto, we celebrate with you, brother. That is a really cool book. Who did Bill Sienkiewicz? Bill Sienkiewicz, if memory serves, is the person that did that cover. I showcased it in a video about Bill. I don't know that I remember that he did that, and it wasn't until I was doing my research for that video that I remember that. So congrats to you, brother. Shortbox is indeed fantastic, always on point. The people are just top notch, man. The people are just top notch. There's no doubt about it. So while I was at Shortbox, and I was about to make my way home, about to head to the airport, I received an email. I received an email from a producer. And it appeared to be a little scammy, spammy type of message at first. But I read on, I checked the signature, I checked who it came from and all that good stuff, doing my due diligence. And it was an interview request for a podcast. And it kind of caught my attention because of who this person represented. Is the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal's podcast reached out to me and they said, we spoke to a couple of subscribers of yours that recommended that we chat with you. And again, it's kind of spammy, right? When you read it, but sure enough, it was actually legit. I sat down with this producer from the Wall Street Journal to talk about the business that is the MCU Phase 1. And we had a wonderful conversation about the interconnected nature that is the MCU and how ambitious that undertaking is. And I think it's fascinating that a lot of people are saying that the MCU is over, the MCU is dead. And you now have the Wall Street Journal that is doing a business podcast about the success that is the MCU. I think it's like 30 some odd movies. I don't know how many billions of dollars by this point. But it's interesting that people's perception don't necessarily always match the reality of what is actually happening. I think, you have a not so great economy, and you have Guardians of the Galaxy, which has a pretty high critic score, pretty high audience score, brought in $118 or so million domestically, and over 300,000, I do believe, globally. And people are saying that the MCU is over. And it's like, man, maybe the movie didn't make as much money, but is it over? It's still a significant amount of money, and a lot of movies don't even make $100 million, period, gross, period, versus in a single weekend. So it's just always interesting. But shout out to those people that listened to the channel, that spoke to that producer and suggested that he give me a call. It was cool. It was really cool to to get that recognition, if you will, because they certainly didn't have to talk to me. But it was a really cool surprise. So it's just been this whirlwind of activity. So the Shortbox Live thing, the Wall Street Journal thing, and then all the while I'm writing responses to an interview that will be eventually posted somewhere. So more to come on that. Let me see. I'm looking here at some of the comments here. Seeing with the Wall Street Journal, Doug's giving me the hand clap. I appreciate that, brother. My copy of Transformers 1 is well loved. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I don't know if I'm big time. I don't know if I would say that. If you hang around long enough, somebody pays attention. Thank you, brother. I definitely appreciate it. Hey, Kareem, let me tell you guys this. So we are not actively still doing the podcast anymore, but somewhere, somehow here on YouTube, they take this show and they turn it into a podcast. I haven't really looked into it, but somewhere this show still comes together as a podcast here on YouTube. Maybe somebody here in the chat knows exactly how to find it, because I haven't yet had an opportunity to dig into it. I was talking to some people recently, and it was like, there's a lot of platforms out there, and unfortunately I cannot pay attention to everything. And so I'm very thankful that so many of you do pay attention to a lot of stuff and help to keep me up to speed and aware of the many things that are happening out there. So shout out to those of you that reach out and make me aware of stuff. MJ Games is up in the house. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Shazam Fury of the Gods would have been happy. You feel me? You see what I'm saying? Shazam Fury of the Gods would have been happy to make Guardians of the Galaxy 3 money. No doubt about it, man. Again, this is a lot of money. It's nothing to sneeze at. It's a significant amount of money. I'd take that amount of money at any type of currency. So now, as you guys can see, now you understand why it's been so difficult for me to record things, because I cannot help but cough. I was recording something, I think it was yesterday, and I literally stopped the recording and had to cough. So if you ever see some weird splices, that was probably me having a coughing fit at the time. So just roll with it. Let me scroll through, see what else you guys are talking about here in the chat, because we technically do not have an agenda. We are just going to rip through some stuff. And I probably should have thrown the Shortbox website up there. I didn't do that in any way, shape, or form. They are indeed a sponsor of the channel. So shout out to Shortbox. Great app. If you are buying, selling graded comics, this is one of the places that you should absolutely go to take a look at their inventory. What's really cool is that the books that are being sold here are not Shortbox books by and large. These are books from dealers, and pretty awesome dealers at that. Dealers that have sold on other platforms. Some of them might still be, but they choose to also list their books on Shortbox primarily because of how great the app is. And I can tell you, a lot of these places, a lot of these dealers only sell at cons, face-to-face, or on the Shortbox app, again, because of the wonderful people that are behind this app. So I definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Scrolling through, what is that? Would like to hear you talk about TMNT comparing the Mirage and IDW Turtles and what they could do still for comics and movies. Brad, I would love to talk with you about that, but I'll be completely honest. I don't know a thing about the Turtles. Not a Turtle fan, not in any way, shape, or form. Steve Burke family is a guy on YouTube that is a huge Turtle fan and also a fan of Power Rangers. He could probably go through a lot of detail about the difference between those two publishers and Turtles. I am not a Turtles fan, and I would not be able to address that for you in any way, shape, or form, brother. I will tell you, one thing you will always get with me is some honesty. If I don't know it, I will tell you in a heartbeat that I don't know it. What Batman key comics do you think are worth picking up at this time? I would say all of them, to be completely honest with you. Pick a Batman book. More than likely, the time is right to pick that book up. And I say that about a lot of books. I'll be completely honest with you. A lot of people have been priced out of books, period, for the last few years. And I think a lot of people are still sitting on their hands on the sidelines, not buying books, despite the fact that values, not just for Batman books, but books in many shapes and sizes are discounted versus where they have been for the last couple of years. I was at Shortbox Live. I did this show live and I said, hey, if you picked up a book today, show me what it is that you picked up. Immediately, books like Giant Size X-Men issue #1, Fantastic Four 48. Those were some of the books that Incredible Hulk 181 that immediately popped up as people pulled them out of their bags. And they did it because the values of comics are much more favorable now versus where they were 2 years ago. If you are not buying right now, I think you are missing an opportunity. If you have the financial security to be able to do it, now is a good time to pick up books. And if you take a look, I can't remember who asked that question, but if you take a look at the last a couple of videos that I've released here on the channel, you probably notice a lot of Batman books and a lot of DC books. I've been picking up DC books on the sly because the prices are incredibly favorable right now. I just picked up the first Silver Age appearance of the Riddler because prices are the lowest that I've seen them in a couple of years. Not now is the time. Pick a Batman book. That is a good book. That actually brings me to another point. Let me make this point because this is part of why I was so fired up earlier. Somebody reached out to me. And this is not me making fun of anyone. It is not me making fun of anyone versus trying to use a timely real world example to paint a picture and hopefully to help someone else out there. Had somebody reach out to me about Amazing Fantasy 15, specifically a 2.5 copy of Amazing Fantasy 15. They said, Reggie, do you think that this is a good buy? The book was $22,000. Now, on the surface of it, somebody could say $22,000 for a 2.5. That is a smoking deal, right? If you think about where things have been for the last couple of years, on the surface of it, it appears to be a smoking deal. And I said to this person, because it didn't look right to me, I'll be honest with you. I said to the person, do you know, have you looked it up in the pricing guide? And they were like, no, I haven't looked it up in the price guide. My second question was, are you sure you want to get a purple label? The person was like, I love this book. I don't mind a purple label at all. Or I just love this book so much, it doesn't matter to me, right? Those were like the two responses. Both of those responses threw me for a loop. They threw me for a loop. I had to take a pause on like the conversation. And the reason that I had to hit the pause button is, and I didn't tell you this part. The book was actually a purple label. It was an Amazing Fantasy 15 2.5 purple label for $22,000 at a local LCS. Okay. So I don't know how you buy comics without referencing a pricing guide. I don't know. I don't know how you prepare to spend $22,000 without referencing something in order to make an informed decision on how much you should pay or whether something is a smoking deal. And so had this person actually taken the time to look it up in a pricing service, what they would have seen is that copy of Amazing Fantasy 15 2.5 purple label was $5,200 over the actual most recent sale for that very same book. $5,200 more than the asking price. Is it a good deal? Absolutely not. It's literally a brick that is flying at your face. It literally is a brick. You have to reference something in order to make an informed decision. I could not imagine spending $200 without referencing a pricing guide. To be honest with you, much less $22,000. The book was not only $5,200 above the purple label that most recently sold, and it wasn't that long ago. So you would assume that the prices would probably be a little bit lower given the economy now versus when the last book was actually sold. But the book was also a $400 more than the blue label 2.5 Amazing Fantasy 15. So not only was it overpriced versus a purple label, it was overpriced versus a blue label. It was an absolute brick. It was an absolute brick. You have to take We have a ton of amazing data at our disposal, at our hands. We have the ability to make really informed decisions about how we spend our money if we choose to leverage that information. And again, I could not imagine contemplating spending that kind of money without taking the time to do some research and thinking about it. Like, seriously. And again, I've released several videos here on the channel that have demonstrated that sometimes getting that non-blue label graded book will potentially not result in positive things always. In my opinion, it is better to get the best blue label book that you can afford versus a green label or a purple label. That is my personal opinion. People may differ with that, but if you get a blue label or a green label, the upper limit of that book is always going to be limited by the blue label equivalent. Always. It is always going to be a question of, well, what grade is this book really in terms of a blue label? How do you equate a green label or a purple label to a blue label? That's always going to be a question. Because that's always going to be a question, the value of that book will always be suppressed. Now, people will say, well, I don't care about money. If you're spending thousands of dollars, you should. If you're spending hundreds of dollars, you should care about value. And it's not about turning around and flipping the book. It's about spending your hard-earned money as wisely as possible. It's like buying a car without getting the car inspected. Why in the world would you actually do that when you can get an inspection and a certified car? We have information. Use it. Get access to a pricing service. And it doesn't matter which one you use one associated with this channel or not, get one. And eBay is not a pricing service. It is absolutely not. Again, fired up. Deuces, boy. How you doing, brother? It's good to see you, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Scrolling through. Reggie, you got to replace all those slabs on your wall with purple. Absolutely not. I am a fan of the blue label. I'm not big on yellow labels because I don't see the benefit in paying a premium for a yellow label because it's signed. I don't do, if I can help it, blue or green. And people will call me a snob for that. No, I work really hard for my money and I want to buy the best possible book that I can afford. As a kid, I used to buy comics. I would read my comics. I would put my comics in a bag and a board. And all at the time, I hope those books will be worth a nickel more than what I paid, right? I have always been this way. I've always thought about, if I spend my hard-earned money, I am going to take care of this thing. I've always been that way. Guy comes and cleans my cars. He says, you can tell you actually care about your car because of the way that it looks when I come here, which is clean, which is clean and not cluttered and any of that other stuff. If I'm spending my money, I'm spending my money on something good and worthwhile, not necessarily expensive, and I'm going to take care of that thing because it's my money, right? That's just how I've always been that way. Scrolling through. If they change the purple to lilac, I would absolutely not. I would absolutely not. Spend your money wisely. No doubt about it. I don't buy that's because you care about your money, bro. That's because you care about your money. Right. And everyone has a different threshold for where they start to care. You know what I'm saying? And $10, $20, $30, maybe not so much. That's me. That's where I draw the line. But at a certain point, it becomes real money. And if I'm spending that real money, I care about where it's actually going and what I get in return. So purple is sexy, man. You don't know what you're missing. So what's funny is my boy refused to wear some socks this morning. He refused to wear socks this morning that my wife had picked out for him. They're Bombas. My entire family wears Bombas socks because of my wife. And my boy refused to wear the socks. Why do you think he refused to wear the socks? Because they were purple. He's like, I'm not wearing purple. And my wife was like, well, they're bluish or they're grayish purple. He's like, you know what's in them? Purple. And I'm not wearing them. I'm like, hey, The boy knows what he likes. Desired, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you, my friend. Scrolling through the comments here. Oh man, I am trying not to die here. Scrolling through the comments here. I wonder if CGC had a red label. Would Reggie go for it? I would not. Here's the thing is CBCS had a red label. In my professional life, we don't use red. In my professional life, we don't use red. Why? Red is often associated with danger and death. Right. That's what red is associated with. I associated with just the dopest color around. But in certain situations, you don't use it. Right. I like universal blue labels, period. And that's not to take anything away from folks that like yellow labels or people that opt to buy green labels or purple labels or any of that other stuff. It is for me about personal preference. It is the standard that I have set for myself. It's where I feel comfortable. It's where I choose to operate. It is not to take anything away from anyone else. It is purple personal preference. Technically, Reginald is a royal name as well. So I think that I have it covered. I am covered with Reginald. Picked up a great copy of Thor 337, first appearance of Beta Ray Bill for a good price. Mr. E, congrats to you, brother. That book was super hot several years ago. You could not pick up a copy for a reasonable price, but congrats to you. Cole Collects Comics. That's a lot of C's you have in that name. It is good to see you, brother. Welcome to the live stream. I don't think that I've ever seen your name before, but welcome to you. If this is your first time in the live stream, let us know that so that the Blue Wrenches can welcome you properly. So scrolling down through some of the comments here, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Red means blood. There you go. Blood, death. Typically not good stuff. Typically not good stuff. You guys are nuts. You guys are really. I like to. What is it? I like scratch and sniff labels so that you can have a slab but still smell that silver age paper smell. So I think it was Tina. That sent me a candle. It was a candle. It was a comic book paper candle. I think probably came from Etsy. So I will tell you that there's no scratch and sniff, but you can get yourself a dope candle and enjoy that. Let me see. Oh, I should also say that I do not necessarily go after provenance books or pedigree books or any of those other alternative labels. Blue label. That doesn't mean that I don't own purple or green or I think that's it. Yellow, right? I own those, but if you think about my sweet spot, right? For me, it is about having a standard for one's collection. That is a huge part of a lot of this stuff. Let me do this real quick. So I want to give a huge acknowledgement to Adam and Dave Bratton. Shout out to both of those gentlemen for putting together this dopeness right here. I actually sent out, if you are not on our newsletter, this is an email that I sent out earlier today. The fellas, Adam and Dave, put together this really dope double homage comic. This is a premium cover for Isolation issue number 4 that is available on soldierpublishing.com. It is a double homage, and I am curious if people actually know what 2 books this is a homage to. And the DC folks definitely have an advantage here. So I am curious if people know what this is a double homage to. And then also, does anyone know or want to take a shot at guessing who the character is that is being depicted in silhouette? I will tell you that this cover is going to be limited to 150 copies, primarily because of the cost. And I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what the cost will be, but it will be at least three times the cost of a regular cover. I can tell you that for a fact. This is going to be a premium cover because we are going to add some foil to it. We are going to add some foil to this, and I am having a back and forth with the printer right now to determine exactly how much foil we are going to add, which is going to feed into the cost, which is why I am limiting it to 150 copies. This is, by supporting this, you put us in a position to be able to print Isolation issue number 4 and get it out there. So if you have not picked up one of the several packages that is available on soldierpublishing.com, I definitely want to encourage you guys to head over there. Already several people have picked up copies of this, and I absolutely appreciate it. Let me see if I can make this thing a little bit bigger. I don't know if I think I can. There we go. Zooming in. And I think this is something that we've spoken about before. This again is issue number 4, and it's written by the very talented Doug Bratton. And then Delia Gunderson and Chase Cowan are going to be doing the interior art. They're actually going to be splitting responsibilities. Delia's pages are all done. The cover is done. And now the book is basically with Chase to do his part. And I think he's making some pretty good progress on that. So again, shout out to Dave Bratton and Adam Shermer. I think that's how you say Adam's last name. Both of those individuals, this cover was actually sent over to me more than maybe a month and a half ago. They had a draft of it. They surprised me with it. And I was like, it's a dope cover. Let me figure out how to use it. And now we know that it is going to be a premium cover for Isolation issue number 4, available on soldierpublishing.com. There you go. So shout out to those guys. We want metal. A couple of people. So Jason's on the board talking about Dark Knight and Street Fighter. Trev is throwing up the flames for Dave. The thing about it is that we are constantly trying to do some different stuff, right? And so what I will tell you guys, and you guys know this, is that if you continue to support what we do, we will continue to explore ways to add some really cool stuff. And so I don't know what the future holds. I will tell you that the printer is never at a loss for ways to spend my money, but I have to spend the money wisely, right? The goal is to make sure that the creators behind the project always get paid. And I want to be able to continue doing that. I want to continue being able to print this book. So we have to be smart about it, but you never know. You never know what might actually happen. So support it, man. They haven't gotten it yet, brother. Have they not gotten it? A homage of Reggie in his younger days with the hair. I did have the old dog braids. I did have the old dog braids. My mother made me promise before senior pictures to cut them off, and I went to the Gumby fade. I went to the Gumby fade from the old dog braids, but no, I never had a ponytail. Fingers crossed that it does sell out. Fingers crossed. Give me a sec, Dave. Don't tell him just yet, because has anybody guessed yet? Metal cover, I think I read that already. Steve is on the board with the metal cover. Liger Styles on the board with the metal. Everybody wants some metal cover. This would look really good as a spot foil with just the lightning bolt, says Brendan. That's what's up. Scrolling through. Lord knows I had to pick up. I have to support Isolation, get every cover. We appreciate you, brother. Foily goodness. Add all the foil. What's the price for half the the knife? I'm assuming DK and not sure of the other cover, says Philtastic. So it doesn't look like anybody was able to get the second cover. So go ahead. Let me hear where Dave, go ahead and give them the answer. It is not River. It is not River. Dave, give them the full answer as to who that is and then what the two covers are. What do old dog braids from Menace to Society? Yeah, man, I had them. I had the old dog braids all the way down. I used to go over to this girl's house, and we used to sit in her kitchen, and she used to press my hair. She used to press my hair, braid my hair, and put the rubber bands on it. And I had the old dog braids for a while. It was not a good look for me. It was not a good look for me. But clearly, Menace to Society, that West Coast had a heck of an influence on me. I've been spending the last few days listening to Crucial Conflict, MC8, MC Breed, and a bunch of just West Coast music / West Coast influence music. That's what I've been doing. Superman 1. There you go. Superman 1 and Dark Knight Returns are the two. There you go. What is that? Not River, but she's a personal favorite. Very important to book 1. It's Grey Wolf. Grey Wolf is who that is, and Dave did a really good job of creating him and then modifying him to make sure that he had the braid in there. Yeah, I think he had to redraw the braid after we did, what was it, cover 3? After we did issue 3 with Grey Wolf on the cover, I think Dave went back and revised his drawing, but came together incredibly well. Again, they made it red. They made the cover red because they knew that I would have a hard time saying no to red. So shout out to Dave and Adam for knowing their audience. They know their audience really well, hence the really dope red cover. And again, this is a premium cover that will have some foil. How much foil? To be determined. Where and how much. I am currently going back and forth with the printer on a few different ideas. So there you go. Scrolling through. Do you play or own? I've been playing a lot of what is that game? It's the war game. Call of Duty mobile. I do Call of Duty mobile on my iPad, and I think there's the World Championships going on right now. So I'm trying to compete with people that have faster fingers than I do. But I'm kind of sort of hanging in there. So I go by Regie Collects on Call of Duty mobile. So if you have it, you can check me out, and we'll talk about it. So Dave, I wasn't feeling the best today, which is why I didn't have you on, but we'll probably have you on soon to get the story behind the red and how you and Adam actually created that cover. So bear with me, brother. Today just wasn't a good day for me to have guests on, which is why we're kind of freestyling it and going willy-nilly. Now everybody sees it. Now everybody sees it. You guys are awesome. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about was a video that I released, nonsensical comic term. I knew when I released this video, I'm wearing the same shirt. I have like 20 of them. I knew when I released this video that this video had the potential to be a controversial topic. I knew it when I released it. And what was really interesting is that a lot of people that watched this video completely understood where I was coming from. And this is a video, if you haven't seen, I definitely want to encourage you to check it out. I challenge the term low grade is better than no grade. And a lot of people that watched the video, I think, completely understood where I was coming from. Other people opted to look at very small segments of the video and hone in on those things and object to those things. And in some cases, while they were objecting, they were actually proving my point about the phrasing. What I will tell you is that I am not against low grade comics. I'm not against low grade comics at all. I think low grade comics, depending upon the book, makes a whole lot of sense. Golden Age books, perfect sense. Really expensive books, perfect. It perfectly makes sense. Silver Age books makes a whole lot of sense. The video, to some degree or another, was about taking the time to stop and think about what you are doing and making informed decisions on how you choose to spend your money. And if you spend your money on something, you make sure that you're doing so wisely and in a way that makes you happy. That is essentially the gist of the video. All too often during the pandemic, people were making all kinds of concessions for books that they wanted to get but were priced out of, and they chose not to, or they chose to buy a lower grade book that was not what they wanted because they wanted to own the book. They wanted to be part of it. They wanted to have the hotness. They didn't want to be left out. They, in my opinion, were making not so great decisions, and we all do it. Right? This is not a criticism of it. It is more to say, look at what has happened in the past. Let's learn from those mistakes so that we can make more informed decisions. We have seen the values of blue labels and green labels drop more so than a regular blue label. People made concessions, picked up those labels that didn't necessarily work out. If you had bought the blue label, you potentially would be in a better position than if you had compromised and bought a green label or purple label or really low grade copy. if you had maybe saved your money, you might actually be in a better place. What's done is done. And it's a question of how are we going to behave moving forward? How are we going to make more and better informed decisions moving forward so as to not repeat some of the things that we messed up on? Someone in particular honed in on a book that I actually showed in the video. And part of what I was doing in the video was saying, look, I have low grade books. So this is not about me being a snob. It is about me saying, make informed decisions. If you make a decision to buy a low grade book, you should make that decision because it's a wise decision, because you've gone through and you've thought about it and you're like, this is what I want to do. This is what I need to do. This makes sense for me, right? Somebody looked at the video that I put in there in which I highlighted some lower grade books that I purposefully purchased, right? That I intentionally purchased at those grades because it made sense. Somebody looked at that and they said the purple label Amazing Spider-Man that he has in there is an example of low grade being better than no grade. Well, that they were trying to pick at what I was saying. And what they ended up doing is revealing how I literally stick to what I say, right? What they forgot is that I did not buy this book graded. I bought this book raw. And I bought this book raw early on when I was buying books. It is an illustration of how if you don't have all the information, you have the potential to make a big mistake. I bought this book. The book has color touch. The book has pieces added to it. I did not know that when I bought the book because I didn't quite know what I was doing. This book is an illustration of mistakes that we all make, right? It's an illustration of mistakes that we all make and how we try to learn from those mistakes and hopefully help the next person not make the same mistake. That's what this book is. Now, taking it a step further, I sent this book in to be graded because I bought it raw. And came back a purple label. This book is a reminder of just mistakes that can be made. And I knew that it had color touch, right? I didn't know the extent of it, but certainly CGC did. The other thing is that this book actually represents a book that does not meet my standard. Doesn't meet my standard at all. It's a purple label, right? But I went out and bought a better book because it's a low grade book, but it meets the standard in the sense that it's a blue label and it's complete, right? And there's no pieces added to this book versus this book right here. This book is also an illustration how this is a good book. Let's be completely honest about that. This is a good book. I attempted to sell this book. And every single person that expressed an interest in buying this purple label wanted it for a lot less money than what the book was actually worth. It's an illustration that when you don't have a blue label, people want to try to get the book as cheaply as possible because they're going after value. And I would show them documentation to show how much this book was worth. And no one wanted to actually pay what the book was worth. They wanted a deal and they cited, well, it's a purple label. Well, yeah, it's a purple label. It's a purple label worth X based upon the data. No one wanted to pay for it or buy it, which is why I still have the book. It is a reminder of a lot of things. It is a reminder of a lot of things for me and illustrates a lot of stuff. Hopefully I was able to communicate that effectively. And again, both really good books, no doubt about it. This one fits the collection. That one doesn't necessarily fit the collection, but both are awesome books. And I'm proud to have both of these books in the collection. Low grade is not always better than no grade. Sometimes not having a book is the right thing. Sometimes saving your money is the right thing. If you buy a lower grade book on purpose, that is the right thing to do. It makes perfect sense. But buying it just because you want to be part of the crew, you don't want to be left out, maybe not the best way. And that's essentially the point of this nonsensical term. Hopefully I did that justice. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in the comment section. I may have completely butchered that. You could sell that book. No, that was AF 15. That was AF 15. So that I could not sell that one for that much. If I could, brother, I would absolutely sell that book in a heartbeat. Burke, how you doing, brother? What's funny is I was literally just talking about you here a few minutes. Somebody was asking me to comment on the difference between Mirage Turtles and IDW Turtles, and I had to pivot to and your name immediately popped in my head as somebody that they should check out, because I think you know a lot more about Turtles and Power Rangers than I ever will. Purple labels are tricky, very, very tricky. Send it to CBCS Reggie and they will come back a blue label regardless. There you go. There you go. You could be right. You could be right about that, brother. No doubt. So Ghost Rider, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you, my friend. Welcome. I am not prejudiced. I love all books. Don't put no labels on me. And again, I think, Bobby, you get where I'm coming from. This is not about being prejudiced. It is not about being a snob. It is not having deep pockets, as people have alluded to. Every single thing that I have worked for, and every single thing that I have, I appreciate. And you're not saying this. I'm speaking now to all of the comments that were left on that video where people didn't quite get where I was coming from. I buy a purple label if it's dirt cheap, I suppose. And again, that's the challenge, is that people want it dirt cheap. That is not a cheap book. And I had a lot of people that were upset. Well, why won't you come down on your price? I won't come down on my price because the data says the price is this. But people were value shopping, and I'm not going to give my book away. I'm not going to give it away in any way, shape, or form. I will put it in the bin and I will keep it for another 10 years before I let it get out of my sight for chump change, because that is essentially what people were trying to do. What is this? Regie. Regie is spelled with a single G. Reggie, you should do a video on the early key issues of More Fun Comics. There are some amazing and very interesting keys. So the challenge, of course, would be that I don't know really anything about More Fun Comics. I don't own a single More Fun's comics, so it would be a little difficult for me to do a video of that sort. I can't even think of somebody that is really knowledgeable when it comes to that specific title, but unfortunately, I don't think that I could do that. I don't think that I could do it justice, but it sounds like you're a huge fan of More Fun Comics, which I think is wonderful. I will also say, if you guys ever have suggestions for videos, don't hesitate to post those up, not here in the chat, but in the comment section, because I read all the comments, or send them to me on Instagram. That is probably the best way to do it. I'm always open and receptive to what people might want me to talk about. You just have to recognize that I don't talk about everything because I'm honestly not interested in everything. And that is not to take away from what you're interested in. It is simply to say that doesn't float my boat. And I probably would not be able to do that justice. I would probably not be able to do it justice. I don't really care for that guy. No, I'm teasing. Golden Age Guru, I saw him at a con it was last year. I saw him at a con, and he tells me on the sly that he bought a massive collection that was basically 3 times the size of my large collection. And it made me feel a certain way. Made me feel a certain way about him. Maybe jealous. Shout out to Golden Age Guru. I definitely appreciate that, dude. Scrolling. There you go. It's true. You know, the thing about it is I try to be exactly who I am on camera when you meet me. I'm not always pleasant. Sometimes I'm feisty, but I genuinely try to be a good person, right? And that's what I think we all maybe aspire to be, except for maybe like Lee Atkins. He likes to pick fights with me on the Discord server, in the comments section. Call me out. He said, let's fight on the Discord about low grade versus no grade. So shout out to Lee. I absolutely appreciate that, dude. Let me see. I'm scrolling through. Let me see. There's Brian Brewster. So love your content. Thank you for spelling my name correctly. Would love to get you on my YouTube show. What I would say to you, brother, is to reach out to me and let's have a conversation. I can't say yes to everybody. I will tell you that I had somebody reach out to me recently, and they were like, hey, this is the format of my show. Do you think you can do it? And I was like, that's not me. I can't do something if it's not me. If the format doesn't work, if it's not authentic, if it's not how I want to show up, I can't do it. I try to make myself as available as possible to people, but I cannot do everything. I have to protect my time. I have to protect the brand. I have to protect, the integrity of someone else's show. If I'm going to not show up and be myself, that's probably not the best experience for them. So, Brian, it's really difficult for me to say, yes, I'll come on without knowing a single thing about the show. Like, for example, I don't drink on camera. So if someone is like, hey, come on my channel and it's a drinking channel, I'm probably not going to do that. Right. I'm just not. Right. If somebody wants me to come on and use curse words, I'm probably not going to do that either. Not that I don't curse, because I do love a colorful word, but I do not curse on camera because I don't want that to be out in the world and my children to see that, or another child to hear me cursing. That is not my jam. You have to be authentic to self. So, but Brian, I do appreciate the super chat, brother. And like I said, reach out to me, preferably on Instagram at Regie Collects. That is the best way to get me, and you will get an immediate answer, because that is just the way that my mind works. So there you go. All right, we're going to wrap this thing up. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind over the last couple of days with the short box thing, the Wall Street Journal, the interview, me being sick, family time, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. And if you did, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button. If you have been watching this show and you haven't subscribed to the channel, like, come on. I mean, what do I have to do in order to earn you subscribing to the channel? I mean, I won't beg, but I will ask you very politely with sugar on top. Anyway, if you guys need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms with pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations, you flying, we waiting. Indian style in the gold temple of greatness. When you follow the North Star, you coming for the education. This is my audio book. These rhymes are just the imagery, more like an audiographic novel or a memoir about a young MC making timeless music with his mentor. I pray I grasp my letters, that was meant to last forever.